Hey y'all, it's Rick here with Uncommon Communion. And I got 2 days in a row of writing, and I'm back to a video tonight. And the reason is, once again, the show The Leftovers. And you know what, y'all? I have just one more episode. One. And the reason I am recording instead of writing tonight is because I needed to watch the last two episodes prior to the last one. So third to last, second to last, penultimate, second to last, and then the last one. I am getting so much just insight, and it's not a joyful show. I can't say that. I am gaining from it because the drama and the thoughtfulness, and then pairing it with the two guys that I'm listening to their podcast. I mean, it is really remarkable. I will say, though, I will be glad when it's over because I can put it to rest. I don't want to pick up another show. I'm very careful about what I watch, and this was worth it. And I'm going to move on and focus more on reading in the evenings, writing this, and also hopefully getting a good start on writing my spiritual memoir. And here we are. So let's begin as we always begin, by recognizing, realizing, celebrating, affirming, and seeking to make our foundation the reality that we are always and everywhere in the holy presence of the more and each other. And I can see that Lucy the dog is making a little cameo tonight. So you can see her on the bed behind me. And if we're lucky, she might just start digging there. Excuse me. It looks like that is what she might be doing. So I think it is good that I am recording tonight because it gives me the opportunity, excuse me as I do that, gives me the opportunity to talk a little bit about what I did yesterday evening. That would be Tuesday evening, as I watched not the State of the Union, but I watched the State of the Swamp, and I watched the People's State of the Union. And it was really quite remarkable. I want you to imagine. So I got my setup here. This is my laptop here. My big screen is over here. So as I was working on my big screen over here, on this screen, I had multiple tabs that I was toggling back and forth between. One was the swamp, the other was the People's State of the Union, and then at least two other tabs. One was the New York Times, the other was the Washington Post, and they were live blogging. So I never had to actually watch or hear what the little dictator baby had to say. I was able to read about it through the comments of the reporters, covering it through the two newspapers' live blog. So I really felt like it was kind of the best of both worlds. I got to see what the two different counter resistance focused podcasts or broadcasts, really, what they were up to, and also get at least a sense of the, excuse my words, shit show that clearly was the State of the Union. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. And I know what you're saying. Like, who would do this? Well, y'all, I am happy to introduce myself, and I just did this very recently, but I'm happy to introduce myself as someone who follows politics like some people follow sports, right? Because I can imagine, and maybe you're one of those, or you could imagine, somebody like this that would be doing exactly what I described, doing some work. I was doing some work on the main screen, looking at a split screen, multiple tabs, so forth, with sporting events, right? That's not me. That's not me. I've watched sporting events, of course, but only ones that really matter to me and that I find meaningful and interesting. I would never do just anything. Sorry, sports. Nevertheless, with politics, especially this truly, truly remarkable moment in which I didn't see the total number. I need to look this up. I probably should have done some research on this. But the senators and the representatives that boycotted, I have such gratitude for them. And I want to give a shout out to my own representative, Ohio 3 Representative Congresswoman Joyce Beatty. She boycotted. And yesterday afternoon, I don't know what time it went up, but she put on her website that she was boycotting. And I had called multiple days ahead of time, finding out twice. I spoke to, I think it was the same aide, whoever was answering the phone, whether she was boycotting or not. And I guess they either weren't releasing that decision or they didn't know, but I was very happy to see it there. And I was also very happy to see the representatives who were speaking in front of the Capitol on the MoveOn.org sponsored and Midas Plus sponsored, Midas Touch Plus, in front of the Capitol, the senators and the representatives who spoke there. I thought that was really cool because what they did was they had a senator or a representative speak, bringing up with them someone, I presume, from their district or from who they represent, who would speak on one of the issues of our time. And I thought it was really quite good. On the other hand, the swamp, the state of the swamp, that was a lot more fun, quite honestly. And just more off the cuff. It was many of the Substackers that I have grown to know and to love and to appreciate, and just some humor. I really just thought that was awesome. And then the keynote, if you will, at the very end was Robert De Niro, and that was really cool. Been a fan of his for a long time. He's 82 years old, y'all. I looked it up. He looks and sounds great, but he had a lot of great things to say, and I know that T. Rump at least had heard about what De Niro said, because this morning I read that the little dictator went on a tirade on his Truth Social about De Niro and how he's overrated and blah, 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 blah. Right? So it got under his skin. And at this point, y'all, that's what we need to keep doing. Just getting under T Rump's skin, because it's a drip, drip, drip of time, tick tock, tick tock. And, this, his days as president will be done at some point. So without further ado, Psalm 57. I'm not going to read the whole thing, even though it's a short one. I do want to keep this overall pod tonight short. And I want to actually talk this one about the context for this. Some of the Psalms give us a little heading, and you can see them in the way that I copy and paste them. They give us a little heading of context of supposedly when and why and perhaps where the psalm was composed. And this one I think is interesting. It says, for the head ceremonial singer to the tune of Do Not Destroy. I'm not exactly sure what that is. It says, a sacred song of much loved one, David, when he fled from man who has asked for Saul and hid in a cave. All right. So if you're not familiar, just really quick, it's a pretty amazing story. Saul is made king of the first king. He's anointed. He goes bad, pretty much goes insane. He brings David in. David kills Goliath, becomes very popular. David also marries Saul's daughter. David becomes friends, like best friends, with Saul's son, Jonathan. And eventually Saul just kind of loses his mind, especially when he hears that Samuel, the prophet, has anointed David to be the next king, and or really to be the king. Saul goes mad and multiple times is trying to kill David. There's a very dramatic scene in, I guess it's like a banquet hall, where Saul throws a spear at David, misses him, but David flees and goes on the run. And I mean, it's just a really kind of crazy, action-packed part of the biblical story. But theoretically, this is, again, David talking about the enemies being Saul and being those who are against him. And I'm just going to read a little piece here, verses 3b, second part of 3. And I'm going to read through the verse that I'm going to feature here in the heading in just a moment. So here we go. So the Great Spirit will send forth his love that remains faithful and true. I am forced to lie down, surrounded by hungry mountain lions ready to devour me. These men have teeth like spears and arrows. Their tongues are as sharp as long knives. Maker of all, you are honored greatly in the spirit world above. Your shining greatness covers all the earth. My enemies have set a trap for me. My heart has fallen into the ground. They dug a pit for me to fall in, but they fell into their own trap. My heart beats firm. Creator, my heart beats firm. I will sing, yes, I will sing songs of his shining greatness. I like that last verse. And oh, and one more. How about one more? The next verse. Wake up, my song, and shine. Wake up, drum and rattle. Together we will tell the sun it is time to rise. So, yeah, I haven't decided yet which one of those two verses I'm going to feature. So you will see the result. But at this moment right here, I haven't decided. I have noticed, though, that when I'm choosing that verse to put up front, and I think that's clearly a pattern that I've gotten into, um, it's really based on kind of my, I think it's based on my mood as to the world today, right? Especially in these Psalms where we're getting, the vile, evil people are doing this, or faith and hope, it's really kind of based, I think, I've been basing it on, again, what's going on in our country, what's going on in current events. And I feel tremendously hopeful, y'all, that the sun is going to rise. We're telling the sun it is time to rise. Last night with a long, rambling speech of just darkness and lies. I mean, T Rump was just lying and lying and lying like a mountain lion with deceitful tongue, right? Um, that's the death rattle. That is the death rattle, y'all. That's not victory. That's not strength. That is the end. It's a last gasp before the patient breathes no more. So that's where we are. So I think I have decided I'm going to wake up, my song, and shine, wake up, drum and rattle. Together we will tell the sun it is time to rise. And that feels like a good place to end this, y'all. So again, y'all, thank you so much for listening. Please share this. Please comment. I appreciate you. Blessing and good. Be bold. Be well. Hold fast, y'all.